What's good, everybody? We are back. As you can see, we are fired up. BBB is already creating some fire with his hands. We're locked in. What's good, everybody? Mickey, what's good with you, my man?
Hey, I am pumped. We got the best card of the year, hands down, and so many plays that I just can't wait to dive into this thing. So many amazing fights, and I'm just pumped up.
Oh yeah, dude. I mean, I feel like the last like 6 shows that that we've done for UFC, we've been like, yo, but come October, this card is the one. So I'm excited to get right into it, man, because there's a lot to break down, a lot of fun stuff going on. So let's pull up the first fight on the menu that we'll be discussing. And it's one that is going to feature the biggest favorite on the card, a minus 1100 favorite is Muhammad Makhachev going up against Malcolm Gordon, checking in at anywhere from, let's just say, plus 700 to just keep it easy for everybody. I have a play on this one, but I'll throw it to you first, Mickey. You let me know how you're feeling about this fight.
Yeah, I know he's one of the biggest favorites on the card, and we always are hunting value on these shows. But I like Makhachev to get this win by KO or TKO. And right now, that line's sitting at a nice. I think it's at it might have moved a little bit since I last looked at it, but it was at like plus 260 when I last looked at it. So I think that's a good little sprinkle spot. He's known to grind people out, but I could see him, doing that grind out, but getting some ground and pound in, mixing things up a little bit here, and getting a nice little plus money cash on a guy that's the biggest favorite on the card. That's my angle on this one. How about you?
Dude, I'm with you. I'm on the other kind of finish. I think a submission, but he's minus 250 inside the distance. High percentage that this fight is going to end early for him. The thing that I'm the most curious about is not, I shouldn't say curious. I think this is a setup fight. This is he's a young prospect. He's undefeated. He's a guy that they're grooming. And I think they're just setting him up for another highlight reel dominant win and performance. And Malcolm Gordon, look, I hate to be mean, but I think he is not of UFC caliber. I think he's more of a regional kind of guy. It is the fight game. The crazy things can happen, but I'm with you on Makhachev getting a finish. I was on the submission though, and the submission between the two is a little bit more favored. Like it's favored for him to win by submission at plus 110, but we've seen it time and time again, dude, where you have him in a dominant position, you're going for a submission, and then you just end up in mount, and it's a ground and pound finish, which is a TKO. And as I see it here in front of me, anywhere from plus 200 to plus 240 if you're shopping for the lines. I'm with you, dude. Look, if you play the submission and he gets a knockout, it sucks, right? So why not also in the first round you could get plus 175 on Makhachev too, and then you just cover all your bases. I do think he starts quick and he puts Malcolm Gordon out in the first round.
Yeah, I'm right there with you. I think that's great value on that one as well. I think the wrestling department's not even close, obviously. So I think he's going to be controlling him on the ground. And then really it's whether, Gordon wants to get submitted or if he wants to get ground and pounded, in my opinion, because he's going to have the dominant position. He's going to probably work him into his corner, get him however he wants him. And then it's however he chooses to get finished. I'm going a little greedy. I'm taking a little higher odds on that one. I think hopefully he wants to mix it up a little bit. He's shown his submission skills. We know he's got that. I want to see if he can work a little bit of ground and pound on the ground.
Yeah, dude, or even just like knocking him out on the feet too, because Malcolm Gordon is not a guy who's super durable either. So, damn, dude, you're talking me into this, and I like it. And I should be more excited because you know how I am, man. I get bricked up when I hear plus 230s on props. You know what I'm saying? So, but I do think the one for me, I would say round one. I think he gets a round one finish. You can get plus 175, and either way, if it's a submission or a knockout, you'll be able to cash that. So we're in line on this one. All right, the next fight that we have is. And bear with us when it comes to pronouncing some of these names, ladies and gentlemen, because they loaded up with the Russian faithful over there. So we got Zubair Tukagov going up against Lucas Almeida. Tukagov minus 155 favorite going up against Lucas Almeida, checking back at plus 140. Fun fact, Tukagov, to me, anytime I see him, I think of the Conor McGregor Habib incident after the fight. He's the guy that jumps into the cage and pieces up Connor from behind. And I believe he was wearing a red shirt, Mickey, if I'm remembering correctly. I think this fight, Lucas Almeida is a guy who hunts finishes. He is very, very active. But I think Zubair is underpriced here. How do you feel about this one?
Yeah, I think it's definitely kind of a weird spot in the line. And like we've talked about before, sometimes taking these guys that are a little bit juicier favorites, like minus 155, minus 160, if they're priced wrong and you think they should be minus 250, minus 200, then there's value there as well. So when we take these plus 300 big line moves there, it's the same thing with value on the other side. I hope people love to fall in love with the plus money, but I think you kind of see that situation here. The only way I could really see Almeida really getting anything is maybe like something late where he just gets a kind of almost like a fluky win here. So I'm with you on that. I'm probably going with Tuke in this one, but personally, I'll probably be laying off this one if I had to be honest. But either an Almeida round 3 finish, or I'm taking Tuke on the money line.
Yeah, so one thing that jumped out to me, Mickey, is Almeida is 14-1 in the UFC. He won his UFC debut. He beat Trezano. And what was interesting was a mutual friend of ours said that he used to go to high school with Trezano and said that he always used to get beat up in high school. When I saw that, I was like, Almeida hunts finishes. 14 wins, 14 finishes. It's the kind of fighter that I like. So when I see something like that, if you do think Almeida wins, I would play him inside the distance. You can get him at plus 425. He is not a guy who is going to accumulate points and stay ahead. He hunts for finishes. 14 up, 14 finished. So if I am betting Almeida, I will bet him inside the distance. I think one of my favorite bets on the card is fight doesn't go the distance at plus 110. Tukagov, I think, is going to get a stoppage in this fight. And then on the flip side, you have Almeida, who is checking in with 14 wins, all by finish, covering both bases. I think just playing this fight at plus money at plus 110, fight doesn't go the distance, is probably how I would play this fight. And then I also think Tukagov is a somewhat comfortable parlay piece, I think. For a guy who's checking in at minus 165, I think he should be a bigger favorite in this one because Almeida is just a finisher. And, we got to remember, dude, it's that hometown bias also. Everyone in Abu Dhabi is going to be pulling for all the Russian fighters. So if it does go the distance, I think Tukagov will get the edge. So that's kind of where I'm at with this fight.
Yeah, I like that. I think that's kind of an underrated spot that people kind of shy away from because it's kind of like a no-no almost of thinking that there would be a bias, but I think there is. I think you see that with, the fights in England with a lot of the England fighters kind of pulling out some close decisions. And as long as it's not egregious, I think that then usually it's like, hey, it was a 50-50 anyways, and maybe it's a little coincidence, but I don't know. I'm not going to chalk it up to coincidence. I think there's something to go with that. So I like it. I like it.
Nah, dude, there's definitely, like you said, unless it's an egregious one where Twitter goes crazy. If it's a close fight, I'm almost positive it always goes to the person in home. Like in Texas, you always see that happening. In Texas is a big one. And then, of course, when they go into the Middle East and they're out there like Abu Dhabi, it's always interesting. People always bitch and moan about the scorecards, dude. And when you're on the wrong side of it, you're like, fuck, man, this shit is whack. All right. Next fight that we have on, one of my favorite plays on the entire card. But before I mention that, I want you to lead us off with this fight. We got Muradov coming in at plus 175. Kai Baralo checking in at minus 225. This actually has moved significantly. The line on this one at open was minus 190 for Kai, and it's now gone up to as high as minus 225. How do you feel about this fight?
Yeah, I feel like we might be on opposite sides here, but I got this fight being almost like a 50-50 fight. And when I have a fight that's a 50-50 fight, in my opinion, I got to go with the dog. I think I would lean, if I had to just straight pick him, I'd probably lean towards Kai, but I think Muradov is a good dog here at the number he's at right now. I think he's closer to plus 175 after, a lot of the line movement from the opening line. And I know we're on the opposite side of the line movement, but I think it's a closer to a 50-50 fight. So I'm rocking with the dog. I'm trusting my instincts here, and I'm going with Muradov money line.
Wow. Okay. That threw me off, man. It throws me off because we do tend to align a lot. So when we don't, I get pretty excited for it. So here's the thing, right? Muradov, to me, I think the UFC has big plans for Kai Baralo. He is the kind of fighter that I think that they want to market. I think the right side is favored. I don't have an issue with the line. Muradov is coming off a little bit of a layoff. The last time we saw him was against GM3, and he dropped him early in the first round. And then in typical Mearshard fashion, like, thou shall never not bet Mearshard by submission. That's like a rule for these streams. If he's ever on there, we're throwing money on the sub. And he just gassed out. He gassed out after that first round. He didn't put him away. And then he tapped to a rear naked choke rather quickly too. It wasn't anything that was like, it was like very similar to when Nunez tapped out to Pena. Not much was needed. Didn't even get the hooks in, kind of like that. So I'm looking at Baralo. I have him winning by submission. And in particular, again, in the second round, man, you can get that at 17-1, dude. 17-1 submission in the second round for Kai. He's the better wrestler. Striking, I would lean towards Muradov in this one. I think he's the better striker. But I think Kai can control this fight with his wrestling. And then if he takes it to the mat, we've seen Muradov gas out. So that's why I think round one he'll be strong. I think you can even live bet Kai Baralo after round one if he does lose it, like Muradov has done in the past, winning those early rounds. But I think Kai by submission is plus 475. That's how I think he wins this fight.
I think we have similar angles on this one. It's just I'm taking a different path because I agree with you on the fact that I think Muradov is pretty much live very early in this fight, and after that, it's going to go downhill. I think he can get, I think he has enough firepower, and I think he could land something early to where I would maybe do like even a parlay of like an under 2 rounds and taking Muradov or inside the distance of some sorts, because I don't see him going the distance with Kai, like you said, with that gas tank. So I'm looking at something early here, and I love the point you made about after the first round, because I think there is a decent shot that Muradov could win this first round, but after that have nothing left in the tank. So maybe a live bet, and hopefully it doesn't show too much to affect that line if it does happen. But a live bet after the first round definitely could be a good hedge if you are wanting to take Muradov.
Are you interested in plus 650 Muradov wins in round one?
I don't think it's a bad bet at all, because I think that's where his most likely path to victory is. So I think, you might be able to find some a little bit safer options with like inside the distance and stuff, but you're going to give up a little bit of value on it, considering it's really pretty much round one or bust almost. Maybe a little bit into the round two.
No, that's a fair assessment, man. And inside the distance, as I have it up over here, you can find that 3-1 almost everywhere. And, he's plus 175 on the money line, and then you're getting 3-1 on inside the distance. I think just being safer, maybe I would just play him on the money line, like how you opened up this conversation. Because, again, like there's nothing, it's always whack when you bet a decision prop, because you're like, you don't want nothing fun to happen for 15 minutes or 25 minutes. Like those are not fun bets. But I don't think there's enough of a gap between his inside the distance and him on the money line. So, yeah, look, I think Baralo gets a finish, and you swung me a little bit. I'm still big on the submission for Kai. Like I said, it's one of my favorite props on the board, and one of my favorite long shot props is round 2, round 3 for Kai Baralo, 17-1 by submission, and then 28-1 by submission in round 3. So it's going to be interesting to see, man.
All right, I like it.
The next one is a fight that got moved from the main card, Mickey, to be the feature prelim, which honestly, man, before we really dive into it, like, isn't it a little weird that they did that? Because you would see this in the past when they would do it for a Vegas card, a New York card, and then the card is on ABC, and it's like, all right, you want to have it in a prime time slot, the lead in into the pay-per-view, you put on a scrap like this. But dude, it's going to be 10:30 in the morning in the West Coast.
Right. Yeah, it is a little different. on this one. I feel like they had the same thought process, but maybe it didn't really click on that. Like, hey, this isn't a normal, like, everyone's at night, they're turning their TV on and they happen to see this, and hey, maybe I'll buy the card. This is going to be, you know, prime time for all the college football. There's going to be a lot of other things drawing people away. So I don't think it's just going to be a casual fan that gets sucked into buying this card.
Yeah, I think you're pretty much, you have everyone that's buying this card is buying it already. Like, I don't think this is a card that people are going to be needed to be talked into. To your point,
Right.
you know, like in the past, there'll be cards where you're like, maybe, but this one, it's like, nah, bro, this is a card of the year. So we got Sean Brady coming in at -140. He is a undefeated fighter, 15-0, going up against Bilal Muhammad. I'm pretty sure this fight was originally booked a while ago, and then it got rebooked and rebooked. I don't know why, but I know that it's been either rumored or it's been announced in the past. How are you feeling about this one, dude?
Yeah, I think I got a little bit of dog fever going on this one because I think the line's probably pretty close to being right on this one. But Sean Brady's coming off a pretty extensive layoff here, and this is going to be about as bright as the lights can get to come right back into it. And Muhammad, whether you like him or not, he's had some pretty boring fights. People get on him about all of that, but he's been winning them, and as long as he's winning, that's all I can really ask for. I'm not going to go crazy with any inside the distance or certain subs or knockouts because I don't trust him to do any of that. He has talked about opening up his hands a little bit more because it is funny. He's listed as a striker, but his last few matches he's been a WrestleManiac. So I would like for him to get it done. I think he gets the money line win. I'm going to play it safe on that, and I'm sticking with my dogs for right now.
Well, I mean, dude, these two guys are, I don't want to say decision machines, but the majority of their wins have been by decision. Bilal Muhammad is not someone that puts himself in danger. I think he's a very conservative fighter. He plays to his strengths, and he does tend to lay and pray. The biggest thing for me in this fight is I think Sean Brady's going to have maybe 15 to 20 pounds on him. Sean Brady's a big boy, man. Sean Brady, I met him one time, dude, in Atlantic City, CFFC. And you know how he has that devil eye tattoo on his back?
Yeah.
Bro, go and touch your wall. That's what his back was like. I gave him a bro hug, and I was like, holy, how do you fight at 170, you psychopath? So I think the line is right. I would make Brady the favorite. I think fight goes to decision is -250. If you want to get some more value, you could get Bilal Muhammad at +170 to win by decision. Hell, 96% of his wins are by decision, right? So you're getting a nice plus number there. If someone's going to get a finish, I think it's Brady. And for some reason, I'm thinking submission 9-1 is a wild line for a guy who is a very good jiu-jitsu practitioner. He has competed in those like flow grappling contests as well. And for the people that are fans of jiu-jitsu, Craig Jones is one of like the best jiu-jitsu guys in the world. He's been in Volkanovski's team on Ultimate Fighter, and Sean Brady beat him in a jiu-jitsu competition. Granted, look, he wasn't allowed to utilize leg locks, which is like 90% of Craig Jones's game. But Brady is like that good of a jiu-jitsu guy. And when I was just looking at the line for this one, Mickey, when I saw 9-1, I was like, yo, hold on. You have to throw something on that, because he either submits people or it's a decision, in my opinion, when Brady fights.
Yeah, I'm not gonna lie. I didn't even see that line. I think I missed it or something, because that sounds crazy to me that you can get that at 9-1, especially considering the way Bilal's probably going to be wanting to take this to the ground. Because I think he thinks he has this dominant, wrestling, and the way he's been able to handle people. I mean, he just did it against Luque, and everyone thought there's no way he's wrestling him. He's getting KO'd on the feet. He did it to so I think he might try to do that to Sean Brady, and that would set up your prop pretty much right in there. So I like that prop.
Listen, man, yesterday on a book I will not mention because they're not sponsoring the show. So if they want to get the cheap rub, they got to pay up some money. But they were 9-1, and I bet that. Now it's +750. So I don't know. Maybe I move the line. I think we're gaining some steam in the markets. But I do think I still think that's a wild line, man. Like if someone's going to get a finish, it's going to be Sean Brady and it's going to be by a submission. So to me, that's definitely, I'm on the Brady side. If Bilal does let go of his hands, it's going to be interesting to see because I think the weakness for Sean Brady is his hands. He's very methodical, but also like doesn't pull the trigger. And I think he's been pieced up in a lot of his fights, and fights have looked closer against him because his hands are not his strong suit. So I'm excited for this one. I think this is more of a fight for like the people that are like me and you that are hardcore UFC fans. Like the casuals might be like, it's kind of boring because both of these guys could lull you to sleep. But again, I'm on Brady. You're on Bilal. And I think submission, that line is just wrong, man. That's just a massive mispricing for the way that he can get
sprinkle on that with you as well.
Yeah, man, for sure. That's a good one. The next fight, I mean, dude, you want to talk about a decision machine? Is there anyone that's a decision machine more than this lady right here, Caitlin Chukagian? She is the underdog in this fight, going up against Manon Fiorot, minus 205. Chukagian coming in at plus 175. Sorry, minus 180. Excuse me. Line has moved. I think this one is you play Chukagian by decision because literally I think she has a UFC record of 10 straight decision wins. She can't finish a beer, let alone finish a fighter. And Fiorot, I think, is the only person that could get a finish in this fight. And you can find that at plus 425. That's about like the only two things I'm playing in this fight.
Yeah, I think Fiorot is probably a moneyline parlay piece for me. I think she should get this one done. Other than that, I'm not interested in putting anything too much more on this fight. This is one that, it's on the main card. This is probably where I go, grab a snack out of my pantry real quick, come back, get ready for the big events here. But I like Fiorot as a parlay piece. I think she should get this done.
Like plus 250 for Chukagian to win by decision when literally all her wins are by decision. I would rather bet that as opposed to plus 172 or plus 175. Right. I think, you get like $75 more doing that when that's like how she wins her fights. And then Fiorot, I think she puts her away, man. And plus 420 to win inside the distance on a minus 225 favorite. Like you said, parlay piece. I couldn't agree with you more. I have a fight night parlay that I've given out, and it pays like plus 500, and she's one of them, just straight money line. And I think she gets the job done for sure in this one.
I like it.
Okay, now is when the fun starts, because man, these next four fights, it just gets better and better and better. Beneil Dariush checking in at plus 160, going up against Mateusz Gamrot at minus 195. This one, do you think the line is right on this one? Because I've had people tell me different things.
Yeah, I've heard a lot of different things here. I've heard that the line should not be like this, but I don't know. I'm high on Gamrot. I think this line is, honestly, I wouldn't be surprised if it would have been higher. Like I was a little almost not shocked, but like I was kind of like, ooh, that's like a bettable line there. So, I know it's juicy, but I think it should probably be even higher. So I'm rocking with Gamrot in this one. I think he gets it done. I do kind of feel bad for Dariush because he's kind of got almost like leapfrogged in this entire title shot type of deal going on right now. But then again, he hasn't been healthy. He's had a lot of stuff that's came up. It's not necessarily his fault, but you can't blame the UFC either. So, but I like Gamrot on this one. I think he gets it done. I honestly think the line should be higher. So Gamrot's one of my, I like this spot a lot for him as well.
Yeah, dude, you're so right. Like Dariush is a victim of not being popular. And whether you like it or don't like it, it's the truth in the UFC. If you are tied with another fighter, same resume, same record, same winning streak, and you're not cool, like you're not fun on the mic, you don't cut promos, you don't have a social media presence, you're very like PC, you're going to get leapfrogged. And that's what you saw happen to Dariush. Dariush is on a winning streak just like Makhachev is. And Gamrot, I think, is the better fighter. He's the younger fighter. He's more explosive. I mean, his fight with Sarukian is one of my favorite fights of all time. And those guys those guys in the 5th round looked like the fight just started. And I was like, damn, dude, I feel like so out of shape watching this, you know?
I was getting tired watching that fight.
Hell yeah, man. That's like one of the best like fight night fights of all time, in my opinion. It was a banger. And I think Gamrot, look, Dariush he's been put up against the ropes many times in his fights, even in the fights that he ends up winning. Like, I was in Vegas for the close fight, and he got rocked, man. And then he just caught him with a miracle punch, and then the famous meme of DC, Rogan, and Anik went viral. And they show that all the time. Yeah. But there's something in me, man, that thinks Gamrot puts him away in this fight. And I'm looking at plus 230. Gamrot wins inside the distance. Even though Gamrot is another guy who kind of scores points and gets ahead. Dariush coming off a little bit of a layoff. I'm always very skeptical of that, especially when you're getting up there in age as well. So that's kind of how I'm playing this fight, man. I don't think I'm going to have any action at all on Dariush. There's often times where I'm playing both sides because the props make sense. But, man, I'd be shocked if Gamrot loses this fight.
I'm right there with you, man. I'm right there with you.
Anything else you want to add to this one?
I mean, I think you could use Gamrot as a parlay piece. I'm going to be having a straight bet on him. I'll probably be searching just more props the longer I can. I'm all over Gamrot on this one.
Look, I'm with you. Gamrot and Ferrot right now, you money line both of them, you get plus 115. No finishes, no decisions, nothing, just to win. And I think both of them, you know, we might be having this conversation next week, dude, and we're like, yo, how are they only minus 200 each? Like, that could be something.
I think there's a very good chance we have that conversation.
Yeah, definitely. All right. I think now we might start disagreeing a little bit because these next couple fights are going to be funky. Let's open up with Peter Yan coming in as a minus 305 favorite, going up against the Sugar Show, Sean O'Malley, a guy who is in the ultimate high risk, high reward kind of scenario right now. If Sean O'Malley loses this fight, everyone's going to be like, yeah, we thought he would lose. He's not good. Sean O'Malley wins this fight. Dana White already said there's a number one contender. You just beat the number one guy in the division, who I still think, Mickey, is the best 135er in the world.
Yeah, this is a fight where I'm either going to look like a genius or I'm going to look stupid because I'm going with Sean O'Malley in this one. The spot lines up perfect for him. I mean, like you kind of said, he's kind of got a great situation that just kind of fell into his lap because if he can get this win here, whether it's a fluky knockout or anything really, he gets launched into super stardom. I mean, like it'll be insane. He's already got all this off, social media presence, everything's going for him. And if he gets a win over Peter Yan, who I agree with you is very legit, then it's going to be I can't even comprehend how he'll be like close to be going towards like Conor McGregor projections, in my opinion, because he's got the personality. He's got, he hangs out with like the Nell boys and just stuff like he's just setting himself up to just skyrocket if he can get this win. Now, I do think it'll be tough. And if this was hey, gun to your head, who do you pick? I'm going with Peter Yan. But I just feel like the way this card is, Sean O'Malley just shocks the world, and he does it. I know. So I'm either going to look stupid or look like a genius in this one. But I'm going with the redheaded Sean O'Malley in this one.
Dude, we were just talking about Dariush not being cool, right? Sean O'Malley is mad cool, bro. He chills with the Nelk boys. He's doing these Twitch streams. He's doing all this stuff, and he's everywhere, and he's super popular. And you're right. This is the card of the year. He gets a win against Yan, and I don't know how you feel about this. I think the only way he could win this fight is if he catches Yan and he beats him by knockout. Like, that's how I was going to – coming into this fight, I think Yan is going to win, right? But I'm definitely betting O'Malley to win by knockout because I think that's his only path to victory. Plus 600 in some places, plus 500 in other. And I think O'Malley – the knock on Yan and the thing I'm worried about is I think his last 5 fights have all been title fights or main events. And those are 5-round fights. And what's the MO in the scouting report on Jan? Very slow starter. You can't do that against OMalley. You can't do that. You can't throw away a round 1. And then, what happens if round 2 you don't get it going and now you're down 2-0? OMalley just cruises to a decision. So Jan needs to come out the gates quick. The one thing I'm looking forward to the most is Jan's pressure and if he's going to go for leg kicks. Because, OMalley, even in his wins, he gets caught in the legs. It's like one kick and then he's grimacing and he's carrying that the rest of the fight. I think Jan is the rightful sizable favorite. The line has moved. Like, you could have gotten OMalley at open at plus 350.
Yeah, line's moved a lot.
It's moved a lot. And I wonder if that's like hype and the OMalley brand. We saw this happening with Conor. We saw that happening with Ronda Rousey also, throwback, but it's like the two biggest stars. Is there anything on the Jan side that you like?
I mean, I think Jan should get this done. I mean, I don't feel like uncomfortable using him as a parlay piece because he probably should get it done. But I don't know, man. There's this gut feeling that Sean O'Malley just does something crazy. And I get these every once in a while on some of these fights where it's like, it doesn't necessarily have to make sense where you're like, dude, something's just going to happen. And it's going to be one of these, pay-per-view moments that they show on cards for the next, 3 years. And like the Joe Rogan reaction and all this stuff that we see, like, it's just something that's I have a feeling about.
Hey man, you better, if you don't bet this, I'm gonna be pissed. Because that gut, because I tried to set you up to talk you out of it, but you're like, nah, man, my gut. You gotta go with it, dude.
You just gotta trust the gut sometimes. And sometimes, it doesn't work out. But if I didn't bet this and Sean O'Malley hits some crazy knockout, I would have to go run through a wall.
Look, he has a reach and size advantage over him. And again, I think he's really playing with house money, dude. It was one of the props that I'm giving out is O'Malley by knockout. You're saying that he wins on the money line. You can get that at 2-1 in some places, plus 190 in others. Like, yeah, man, do it. Definitely.
Part of me thinks too that Jan just maybe isn't even taking this fight seriously. Like you said, he's always had these title fights for these last few fights he's had. And I think he really thinks O'Malley, and like almost rightfully so, but I think he thinks I am light years ahead of O'Malley. I'm just going to go in there, win this fight. And like you said, he's a slow starter. I could just see him coming in and just getting caught. I just think he could not take it seriously, and somehow he gets caught.
Yeah, man. Yeah. And, we saw some emotion from Jan, too. He shoved O'Malley at the stare down. Maybe he's in his head. Maybe he's asking himself, why am I fighting this dude? Like, I shouldn't be fighting this dude. It's going to be interesting, dude. I think this is the people's main event.
Yeah, this will be a really fun one. And it could end very quickly and be very anticlimactic, but I don't know. We'll see. I'm excited for it.
Co-main, the return of the once 135 king, a former 2-time champion, TJ Dillashaw, coming in at plus 150. Going up against Aljamain Sterling, the champion, checking in at minus 170. I can tell you this. I got some hashtag sources. Sterling is locked in on this fight, man. He's moved his camp out to Vegas. He is not partying. He's not seen on the strip. And there's a lot of people that I know that would see a guy like him out there. And what I mean by that is like fighters and celebrities, they hang out in the same circles and they're like, nah, this dude is just locked in the gym. He still has that chip on his shoulder that he had going into that fight against Jan when everyone was just shitting on him. He's the younger fighter. He has the championship rub now that he knows he's the best. This is a fight that I am going to lean on you to try to swing me a bit because I don't know. I have so many issues with both of these guys, dude.
Yeah, I agree. I think as long as Aljamain comes in with that chip on his shoulder, then you probably couldn't price the line high enough for me because I like Aljamain in this one. If he comes in focused as he did on Jan, the dude's insane. I think the guy is amazing. He gets pooped on because he had the fluky win with the no contest, all that stuff. He can't control that, man. I mean, he came back out and he proved it, and I'm sure we'll eventually see Jan versus him again. but the guy's insane. And TJ Dillashaw is coming off of a layoff. I think this line should honestly be even higher, probably like a minus 250 or something. I'm going with Aljamain.
The thing that scares me about Dillashaw is he gets suspended for EPOs, comes back, blows out his knee. So he's really had one fight in 3 years. He's 36. He's off the juice that we know of, right?
Right.
And usually as you get older in the lighter weight classes, you're more susceptible to being pieced up and put to sleep. It's not like heavyweight or light heavyweight when you're 40, you could be Glover Teixeira and DC winning titles. There's a part of me that thinks Dillashaw can negate a lot of the things that Sterling does well. Sterling is a D3 collegiate wrestler. Dillashaw was D1. Dillashaw is very explosive with the hips, can negate some of the takedowns. So this could turn into a striking affair because both of these guys, like you see it happen with Usman and Covington. It's like both of these guys are all-world wrestlers, so they just turned it into a boxing match. If that happens, I'd lean towards Dillashaw. There's a part of me that thinks Dillashaw late can be something interesting because Aljamain, he keeps a huge pace on people. And if it's like the first fight with Jan, where it was more of a boxing exchange, you saw how tired he got. But in the second fight, he was able to utilize his game plan, taking him to the ground, and he was able to conserve energy. So, man, I think this fight goes to the judges. So I would probably lean, if I'm giving out a play, I would say fight goes the distance. It's minus 190. But I think this is a 5-round fight.
I can definitely see that. I got a take that I'm interested to hear your take on it. Do you think, say a fight is basically neck and neck, do you stand with the ideology of like, hey, if it was basically a tie or like maybe you like barely squeaked out a win on the champ, that you have to like pretty not dominantly beat him, but you need to like prove that you're beating the champ? If that makes sense. Like,
yeah, I know what you're saying. Like to be the champ, you got to beat the champ, right?
Right.
It's one of the worst takes, bro. I hate that shit. I hate that shit because if I beat you 3-2, I beat you, right? If I beat you 48-47, I beat you. Like this idea that I have to knock you out or submit you, like I don't buy that notion. You know, I remember my favorite fighter of all time is GSP, and he once said that I much rather beat someone for 25 minutes than get a flash knockout, because if I dominate you, unanimous decision, it's like, yo, there's no excuses there. It wasn't a Masvidal flying knee that like happens once a generation. It's like, nah, I just beat the shit out of you for 25 minutes. So to me, like that is no. Is there a bias with the judges? Maybe, but again, like you can't predict nothing with these judges. Just across the board, MMA judging is just a nightmare.
Right.
I just think this is a decision win for either of these guys, with a little bit of a lean towards Dillashaw late, round 4, round 5. If Sterling is fading, if we know Sterling is going to go in there and have the game plan from the first fight, I would feel stronger about that. But I just don't know. Like as far as picking a side, I personally think it might be a coin flip. I know you feel the other way, that Aljamain should be a bigger favorite, but there's just a lot of unknowns that we'll definitely have answers to on Saturday.
Yeah, I think this is another great fight. I mean, the whole card is amazing, and especially this main event that I actually can't wait to get into.
I mean, dude, this is probably the fight of the year, I would say. This fight, from what the lineage of the 155, the two guys fighting, the kind of fighters that they are, like, I mean, and the fallout of it, right? Like, you know, does Khabib come back if Islam loses? Does Conor get Charles, who Charles has called for? Like, there's so much shit that could go down, but we got the main event, the granddaddy of them all, Islam Makhachev, minus 180, going up against Charles Oliveira, the champ, by the way. All right. He's the fucking champion. He didn't lose his half a pound, bro. Like, that's crazy. And any other commission, he's still the champ because they give you that half pound.
Right.
But It just so happened in Arizona, half a pound, and like, but he's the champion. And the reason why I bring that up is in the last 22 fights, Mickey, that the champion has been listed as the underdog. The champion is 16-5-1. One was a no contest between DC and John Jones. That's a massive trend. I think that's like 80% leaning towards Charles Oliveira. You tell me what you think about this fight.
I think this line is outright disrespectful to Charles. I think this is probably going to be one of my biggest bets on the card. I'm taking Charles in this one, and I'm also going to sprinkle on him by KO. I know a lot of people probably want maybe submission and stuff with the way he has, but I think he's got some, nice hands on him too. And I wouldn't be surprised if the way the wrestling and the ground games kind of cancel each other out, maybe that Charles does catch him sleeping. We've seen him do that with a couple people where, like Chandler, where he ends up just tagging him because Chandler's not a slouch on the ground. And he actually shot in on Charles a couple times.
Mm-hmm.
So, maybe Islam can have a little bit of success on the ground, but I think, with the threat of his submissions, I could see Islam getting a little tweaked out about that. We saw the way, I think that there's just a good shot that Charles gets this dub here. And I wouldn't be surprised if he just knocks him out either. So I'm taking the TKO, and I just think this line is disrespectful. I'm going very large on Charles Oliveira money line.
Listen, plus 550, Oliveira wins by knockout. And dude, I couldn't agree with you more. I think I said it on my show. I have a video that I'm releasing on Saturday. Well, probably tomorrow night because Saturday it's going to be 7 a.m. for me over here in Nevada. But if Islam Makhachev was not Khabib's protege, he'd be a 2-1 underdog. And I think you have the hype of Khabib every interview saying it's Islam's time. He's the next one. You're hearing DC say the only person that ever would subdue Khabib in training at AKA was Islam. Now, is that coach speak? Is that teammate speak and hyping up your boy? It could be. Islam is really, really good, man. This is the first time in UFC history that you have two fighters coming in on double-digit winning streaks going up for a title. And both of them are on finish streaks too. The thing
I don't want to take away from Islam. I just think, when I say it's disrespectful, it's more because of how great Charles is, and to be the champ and get disrespectful like this. Islam is still a great fighter.
No, you're absolutely right, dude. And that was another thing that I was going to get to also. Like, the body of work is not even comparable. Like, Oliveira, this isn't a big step up for Oliveira. He fought Gaethje. He fought Poirier. He fought Chandler. Like, he's fought really good guys. Where Islam, what's his best win? Dan Hooker?
Yeah, he beat Bobby Green to get a title shot after he just got cut, yesterday?
Yeah. Now, here's one thing if you really want to get like super analytical. Islam Makhachev has been taken down twice in the UFC. Once by Sarukian, who Sarukian took that fight on short notice, and now is like one of the top 155ers in the world. That'd be a dope fight to see now. And then Thiago Moises. Both of those instances, Mickey, he gave up his back in order to get up. You know who you're not doing that with? You ain't doing that with Charlie Olives. You are not doing that. I think everyone is leaning towards a submission for Charles Oliveira. Like, everyone has, like, oh, he's going to shoot in on a guillotine, on a single leg, and he's going to guillotine him, right? I think Oliveira is plus 220 to win inside the distance. Oliveira can finish you either way, submission or standing up. I feel like if I'm going to bet Oliveira, I'm taking him to win inside the distance because I don't think Oliveira can win a fight against Islam in Abu Dhabi in a 5-round affair. I don't think he's set up for that. He's a guy who hunts finishes. He's the most prolific finisher in UFC history. And I couldn't agree with you more, man. I think the line is wrong. I think the line is disrespectful. And like I said before, I think if Islam Makhachev was not Khabib's protege, he'd be a 2-1 dog in this spot against Oliveira. So I'm on Oliveira. He predicted first round knockout. You could get that at 9-1. I know you're on the knockout also. You could get that at plus 550, plus 600. But to me, the play is Charles Oliveira inside the distance at plus 200. And the champ has a name, bro.
I love that as well. And if we're being honest here, we spoke about some of the past fights. I kind of think Chandler's almost, a tougher opponent for Charles than Islam, if we're being honest. Not necessarily saying who's the better fighters overall and everything, but I just think the way, like, I think that Chandler fight, if it happened again, I wouldn't be surprised if Chandler got like an upset. He's just a tough matchup for him. I like this matchup with Islam, and that's not taken away from how good of a fighter Islam is. I just think that this is a great matchup for Charles. I think he can win it on the feet. I think he can win it on the ground. I think it's going to be tough for Islam to, unless he can really just continue to do what he's done with a lot of these fights where he just pins people on the ground and like hope he doesn't get submitted by 5 rounds and win a decision. I just don't see it.
Yeah, and everyone has been saying that of all the people that have dropped Oliveira in the past, none of them engaged with him going down there, and they're saying Islam's going to follow him down there. And yeah, I could see it also, but I think Oliveira's better everywhere, man. Like maybe not the wrestling, but I think the jiu-jitsu negates it for him. But in the clinch, the striking, I'm on Oliveira big as well, dude.
I like it. Well, we got a big card and some great fights on this one, and I can't wait to watch this one. It'll be an early one, but I'll still be tuning in.
You want to do some best bets before we sign off?
Yeah, let's get some best bets fired out here. You want to lead us off?
All right. So I was kind of building, you know how I get down, man. I'm trying to, buy a pair of Tokyo Dunks, trying to win $20K with $20, But I do like the parlay of Kai Barallo. I know you're on Muradov, but for me, Kai money line, Tukagov money line, and Ferrot money line, you could get plus 240. I think all 3 of them win their fight. And then if you want to get really funky, and I like to get funky, I like Ferrot to win inside the distance, Kai Barallo to win by submission, and then Charles Oliveira wins inside the distance or by finish. You get 70-1 on those 3.
I like it.
So those are kind of like my favorite. It's also like I'm just parlaying my favorite props too. So like my favorite props are Kai Barallo by submission, Oliveira inside the distance, and Ferrot inside the distance.
I think you got to have a long shot parlay, especially on a card like this where you are going to watch the entire thing. You got to have something where, like you said, you're throwing $20 on it, and hey, you might get enough to win a car off of it because it's that Hail Mary shot. But my best bets are going to be, we just broke it down. Charles Oliveira, I'm taking him on the money line. That's going to be my biggest bet there. Even if it goes to decision, I think he can squeak that one out there. So that's going to be my biggest bet. I like him on the, to get a KO there too, a little sprinkle. But best bet, Charles Oliveira money line. I'm going to go with Aljamain Sterling money line as well. I know that's a lot of people are kind of back and forth on that one, but I think he gets the job done. It's a little juicy, but I like it. And then to round it out, one of the prelim fights that we didn't get to talk about earlier, I'm going to go with and I'm going to absolutely butcher this name, but it's Gadzi Omargadzev. He's the Russian guy if you're trying to find him on the early prelim cards. I think it's like the 4th fight on the card. I'm taking him on the money line. I think he's plus 145 right now.
Dude, I like that. I actually like him. Like he's plus 600 to win by finish. That's one of the like long shot props that I'm giving out. So I'm glad that you mentioned him on winning that fight too. So that's gonna be fun. I'm excited, dude. I can't wait. Show us some love on social media. You see our handles here, and let's see how this card plays out, man. Hopefully we hashtag print money this weekend.
Yes, sir. I'm excited.
All right, everybody. We'll catch you guys next time.